G'day viewers, it's Ed Fox, or I should say g'day y'all. You know, if I want to confuse people, Deborah, I say g'day all y'all. That's what I say. So it's the Edward Show. This is the very first episode of the Edward Show. So Deborah decided that she would allow me to use her as my first guinea pig. So good to have you on the show, Deborah. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, and I feel honored to be your first guest.
Yay! I'm so excited. You know, it's like my wife said, when you start doing these shows, are you going to shave? And I said, you know what? I haven't really been partial to facial hair, but it's growing on me.
Oh dear, I guess my job is to just groan.
It's just groan, eye roll, laugh, you know, whichever way. We'll put you know what? I got this website I found the other day, and it allows me to do sound buttons. So what we're going to do is, same as system. So I think I've got up here, it's, we'll try this again. Oh, this should be my intro. Did that song get in your head when it was going around a few years ago at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So every time we went to fly out at the airport, they said, Fox, like, what does the fox say? And yes, and I'm not singing it. So yeah, your job is to groan. But on this soundboard, it's got all sorts of different things. Like one of my favorites that I found the other day was Pink Fluffy Unicorns. I don't know why but that interested me. So like when I tell the dad joke, I can do this. The kids cheering.
Don't you have a groan?
Huh?
Don't you have a groan sound?
Oh, I do. Like I also have. I was just trying to find that. That's the one I was trying to find, wasn't it? Let me have a look here. Jeopardy, Pink Panther, buzzer. Oh, Donald Trump saying wrong. Wrong. There you go.
Please, that's going to turn my stomach. Let's not do that.
I should have. Trouble is, I found. this is a favorite.
Waka waka.
So I could do that after the dad jokes. I'm still looking for the groan.
Can you repeat the part of this stuff where you said all about the things?
I don't know. I saw a groan here a minute ago. Where'd it go? It's gone. It's gone. We'll find it, and we'll be able to use it a couple of times.
Okay. Otherwise, I'll just groan.
That's right. You can just groan for us. We're going to do the. That'll be when I tell the dad joke. I can do that.
Okay.
I'll have to look for the groan.
In case I don't figure out that that's what that is.
Well, you know, some people. Yeah, some people. I'm afraid to click on some of these things that say groan. You never know what you're going to get. Disappointed crowd. Too long. Zombie groan. So that, we'll try and find the right one. So anyway, I got this. If I meet, sounds like Cookie Monster.
Nope.
There you go. Nope. Anyway, so back to the point. So I did that on Saturday. I'm sitting here at my computer and I'm playing with all these different sounds that can be on the soundboard. And Alice is sitting over there and she goes, "It doesn't take much to entertain you, does it?" I said, you know what? Hey, it doesn't take much to entertain you either. You've been married to me for 31 years and you keep laughing. So, you know, like that's the deal. So, okay. So one of the things I wanted to do on this show is I wanted to talk about some of the differences I see when I travel to different countries, right? Because some of the things, when I first looked at coming to the US, it was in the late 80s, and everything on the news in the 80s about America was I'm going to walk out of the airport and there's going to be drive-by shootings and I'll be shot dead on the street, you know, because that's what the media portrays, right? That's what the media portrays. When you think about Australia and you think about going to Australia, what does the media portray in your mind? What do you know about Australia?
I'm going to plead the fifth here because I get New Zealand and Australia confused.
Well, we have a lot of the same. We have a lot of the same challenges. So,
that the way COVID was handled was very wise.
That's an opinion. It's not an opinion I happen to share, Deborah, but that's okay. So
Well,
like
that's what I got from the media.
Right. So I think about just in general, when people talk to me about Australia, it's like, oh man, you got so many snakes and spiders over there, everything kills you. Like all the little bitty guys are the ones that can kill you. So Australia has 20 out of the 22 top venomous snakes and spiders, 18 of them live in Australia. And so anybody that reaches out to me, or they'll send me a Facebook message and it'll be about, oh man, did you see this video of this snake that the lady found in the toilet? I'm like, yeah. Or the bird spiders. There's big spiders over there that can trap a bird in their spider web. And so just like I thought America was all about drive-by shootings in the 80s, because that's what the media portrayed to most of my American friends, they feel like everything in Australia is going to kill you because like with all the snakes and spiders and stuff. But my challenge when I came over here was a lot with the language, even though we both spoke English. Now, you've traveled extensively all throughout the world. Like I know you've done a lot of Africa stuff. Where else have you been, Deb? Is Deb okay?
Deb is fine.
Okay.
The Middle East.
Okay.
So Jordan and Dubai, Croatia, Kenya, Nigeria, Zambia.
Okay.
I'm missing something, but that's enough.
So what are some of the, most of the places that did speak some English, was it American English or was it English English? Or did you even notice the difference?
Was English.
Right. So they would use words. Are there any English words that Americans don't use that used to throw you for a loop?
No, because I read a lot of English mysteries.
Oh, okay.
So I'm used to the lingo.
Got it. So do you have who's your favorite author? Who's your favorite English author that we might know? Is it not Agatha Christie, right? You read all of those, I'd assume.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
Being put on the spot again.
That's okay. So one of the troubles that I had is when, or actually my wife had, when she first went to Australia in 1989, she walked up to the counter at McDonald's and the girl behind the counter says, "Are you right?" And Alice looks herself up and down. She goes, I think I'm right. I'm like, no, she's wanting you to order. Well, why doesn't she say, can I take your order? Because she says, are you right? That means, are you ready to order? You know, and then Alice goes, oh, I'm sorry. And the girl goes, no worries. Now, no worries, the saying over here is more popular over here than it was in the 90s. I don't know whether I'm going to claim credit for that because it's an Aussie saying, no worries. So I think it was probably Steve Irwin or Crocodile Dundee or something, but I'll claim credit for that. So so the girl goes to her, no worries. And Alice back in 89 goes, I'm not worried. No, she's not saying you're worried. She's just saying it's not a problem. Why doesn't she just say it's not a problem? So Alice, she was telling me a story, and I only found this out a few years ago. She was on a bus in Australia, and all these guys were sitting on the bus, all these people, and a lot of these guys were talking about, oh, Friday night I'm going to take this Sheila out, and we're going to go dancing, and oh yeah, I'm going out with this Sheila that I met down the beach, and blah blah. And she goes, do you have a lot of girls named Sheila? So, and of course, we call them blokes and Sheilas. I remember reading an article one time about the Outback restaurants where they had to take blokes and Sheilas off the restroom doors because people were getting confused. They didn't know what a bloke and a Sheila. Now, these days, it doesn't matter. It seems like, doesn't matter what name's on the toilet. But back then, blokes and Sheilas were confusing to them.
Well, that's where I learned it.
At the Outback. So you went into the blokes one and went, oh yeah, no, this ain't for me. This isn't my one. So
I pretty obvious.
My funny story about the Outback is I got told I had the fakest Australian accent ever. My kids, my boys are now 30 and 26, 29 and 26, something like that. Yeah, they're 3 years apart. So it's 26, 29. And so when they were like, I don't know, 8 and what would that be? 5 and 8, something like that. We were in an outback, just the three of us. And this teeny bopper comes up and was waiting on us. And my older son goes, my dad's from Australia. She goes, oh, is that right? I said, yeah, it is. G'day, how you going? She goes, oh, that's the fakest Australian accent. Good try, but it's the fakest Australian accent I've ever heard. My kids started to cry. She made my boys cry.
Oh, dear.
So they said, the older one said, Dad, pull out your license, pull out your license, pull out your license. And I still have my Australian license, but it says Queensland on it. I don't think it said Queensland, Australia at the time. The new ones do, but I think it just said Queensland. I said, look, it doesn't matter. And like they're fighting over it and they want to hand it to her and they hand it to her. And she goes, yeah, that's what I thought. You're Canadian because it said Queensland. I'm like, oh my God. And the boys are all, they're all offended. I'm like, look, it doesn't matter. It does, So that's my fakest Australian accent ever. So you've done, like I said, so we're talking about you traveling. What took you to all those different countries? Was it fun or work? Or was it fun work?
It was work. The traveling, when you get in a plane and you travel for 16 hours and you don't sleep on planes,
right?
Which I can't do.
I have to down some Benadryl. A bunch of Benadryl, I can sleep on a plane.
The very first time that I ever went to Europe, to Croatia,
okay,
I was going to do two 5-day train the trainer programs. And this was for the Open Society Institute in Croatia because all of their infrastructure had left and entrepreneurism was not of value. And they were creating these small business development centers and they wanted to train people to teach them how to start their own businesses.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So I was going to teach them how to train. Okay, well, I bring toys, I bring candy. Okay, please keep that in mind.
Okay, that's lollies. That's lollies for you Australians listening. Go on.
So I couldn't fly directly to Croatia. So I went through Germany, I guess, and then to, where the blazes did we go? Somewhere in Hungary.
Okay. Budapest. That's the only thing I know in Hungary is Budapest.
Budapest. So we get out of the plane and I'm exhausted. And there's a guy with a Uzi. And he yells at me. And I said, I don't speak Hungarian. And he said, I'm not speaking Hungarian, I'm speaking English. Do you have anything to, what do you do when you have
declare it, like declare. Yeah. Yep.
And I started to cry. I said, I don't know, am I supposed to? And he just waved me away. Well, this young man, Boris, came to pick me up to take me to Croatia. And I told him, that my valises were very heavy. Okay. I had a lot of candy. So he put it in the boot. We went through 2 armed checkpoints. My naivety, not realizing that what I was doing could have been perceived as black marketeering.
Oh, really? Okay.
It isn't until we got all the way into Croatia that hit me and how much danger I had put him in. So,
you candy dealer, drug dealer, mule for candy.
So we get there and go meet Slavica, who is in charge. And this is in Osijek, Croatia, and buildings have been bombed everywhere.
Right.
And she explained that they gave out degrees if a student was willing to risk running past artillery to get in to take their oral.
Wow.
Okay, now fast forward 2 weeks. I've done 10 days of training. The candy is all gone. And I had told Boris when he was putting the candy in, you know, it's very heavy. He said, no problem, right?
No worries.
When he's ready to drive me back, so hungry, he said, now I can tell you, it almost killed me. He was a slight young man.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So we do that. So probably turned me diabetic, but Cadbury's is a brand in Australia, and you see some Cadbury stuff over here, but it's normally made under license from Hershey's. So yeah, we would wait for the circular to come out for the supermarkets when we're back in Australia, and we have major brands like, I don't know, what do you guys have up your neck of the woods? Kroger, Safeway, Publix?
We don't have any of those.
Grocery stores. What are your big grocery stores in you're in Wisconsin?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Probably the
Piggly
Wiggly, but
okay.
Not where I am.
Okay. So in Australia, we have Coles and Woolies, which is Woolworths, different Woolworths than you guys had over here, like the 5 and dime. So Coles and Woolies are our two big supermarkets. You get the flyers, and then when you, like, one of them will have the big dairy milk block chocolates on for $2. And so, like, we'd load up, we'd bring an extra suitcase inside a suitcase to fill just with chocolates and lollies and candy. And my wife and I addicted to different candies, different chocolates. So she would get her coconut and cherry coated in dark chocolate called a cherry ripe.
Ooh,
and
wonderful.
it is delicious, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is a honeycomb coated in a milk chocolate, which I buy at World Market over here now, but we filled up. And so when you come back through customs, they go, you're an Aussie. I go, yeah. They go, okay, so you got Vegemite, you got Cadbury's, you got chicken salt. I'm like, you've seen a few Aussies throughout your day. And sure enough, that's what's in my bag is all. I said, do I need to declare that stuff? He says, nah. He said, we used to ban Vegemite from coming in because it had so much folic acid. He said, yeah, well, pregnant women can't have too much folic acid or something. And I'm like, I don't think a bunch of pregnant women are eating Vegemite. He said, no, I didn't think so either. But, you know, I never got pregnant from eating Vegemite. I can tell you that. You know?
No. It was something. I did training in Osijek, went to visit Zagreb, and then flew to Dubrovnik, which is this walled city, 1,000-year-old walled city on the Adriatic. And we flew in, and we were met by the person who was going to be the director of the Small Business Development Center. And so as we're driving these circuitous mountain route to keep myself distracted, I started asking questions, you know, the kinds that you would normally ask. So how long have you lived here? He said, my family has lived here 500 years. I said, what did you do before the war? He said, well, I had a fleet of boats, and my wife and I had built our house out, so we had a lot of tourists staying with us, because Dubrovnik is a place where many people go.
Right,
now.
Yeah.
Right then, it had been bombed and nobody was there.
So what year is this? Like, when were you over there?
This would have been 1980.
Okay.
Is that right?
So just, you know, so a lot of people don't understand a lot about geography. 2000.
2000, 20 years ago.
Right, because it's the breakup of Yugoslav, right? Wasn't it that
right.
created
Croatia
and Herzegovina, and Serbia, all that sort of stuff. Okay.
So I asked him, so what happened to your fleet and your house? He said it was bombed. And I said, well, didn't you have insurance? And he looked at me and he said, yes, my insurance was with Yugoslavia. That is who bombed us. And I never felt so stupid.
Well, and like when you read your insurance papers over here, act of war is not covered. Act of war, act of God doesn't cover you on your insurance. So yeah. So tell me about your travels to Africa. Well, even in those travels, did you ever feel scared or concerned for your safety, other than being on a mountainside or whatever and driving?
3 times. One time, it was when I was in Nigeria, and I couldn't go anywhere without an armed guard.
Okay. And you were over there training again?
I was over there training, yes. So that was very scary. Another time was in Kenya. We were coming back from the training day, and there is all this military and jeeps and guns and rifles and whatever they were everywhere in the perimeter around my hotel, because apparently the president was meeting there. Their president was meeting
at your hotel.
At my hotel. And it was very scary, because how do I get in? What do I do? So that was scary. And the other scary thing was in Zambia. I decided to, I was there for over two weeks. So over the weekend,
Right.
I went, I don't remember what it was called, but I flew to a place, and I had a small cottage along the Zambezi River. And I got up very early because I was going to take a walking safari. And there's this huge shadow. And I look more closely, and it was a hippopotamus. They are extremely dangerous.
Right. Yep.
Extremely dangerous. And one of the security people came up to me, and he's the one who said, this is very dangerous, don't move. And then the animal moved a little bit away, and the security guy said, okay, I'm not willing to do it, but you go knock on the door of the guy next door, because he wants a picture. It's 5 a.m.
Right.
So I slowly creep over to the door and try to knock softly.
Quietly, softly.
And the guy opens the door, ready for bear. He is so angry. And I just point. And he ran to get his camera. But that was pretty scary.
Right. Yeah, I could imagine. Did you enjoy, when you normally travel to these places in Africa and in Czechoslovakia, not Czechoslovakia. Croatia. I don't know why I want to say Czech Republic. Anyway, did you travel by yourself, or did you go with a group?
I was by myself in all of these places. When I first went to Croatia, I trained all day. I didn't know they had breakfast in the basement. This hotel was an old Russian concrete bunker kind of thing.
Right.
And at this time, there were no supermarkets. You went to, get meat, to get fruit, to get vegetables, get bread. And those would all be closed by the time that I was done training. So it was a tough time to be there by myself.
Right. Right.
Because I didn't have anybody suggesting, you could go over here, or this is a place you could get some food.
Right.
I was and talking about food, at the end of the first session, the first 5-day session in Osijek, I had them develop a training and do a 10-minute learning activity that they facilitated. And so I said, well, you want to take lunch and cut it in half or wait till after? And they said, we want to wait till after. So waited till after. And then we went out for their delicacy, which is, because they're right on a river, their delicacy is fish stew.
Okay.
Fish stew, fish with little tiny bones, lots of little tiny bones. And I'm not a real fish eater. No, I have fish with my lemon, but I generally don't have fish, and I certainly don't know what to do with bones.
Right.
And I think that, that I was probably an eighth of the way through it when they were all having seconds.
Right.
Was,
digging through and dealing with every little bone.
yeah.
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 Yeah. We used to, there's a fish in Australia that we catch just off the beach a little bit. You got the long, tall rods and you throw out, now I haven't been fishing in, I don't know, I've been here 31 years. I don't think I've been fishing in 35, but you'd throw out these long and you'd have heavy sinkers to get through the waves, and they were called whiting, and they have so many bones in them. I'm like, this is a pain in the ass to even try and eat. There's just too many bones. And you'd see everybody else like gnawing down on them like a piece of corn and just spitting the bones out on the campsite, just like right beside them. I'm like, no, not going to do it. I like fish, but mine I like deep fried and a little bit of a spicy batter. So yeah. So you were telling me you had a story about Kenya. Did you already share that with us?
Yeah, that
was the hippopotamus. Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. So, okay, any life tips or anything? You've gone through some experiences. If somebody wants to travel, do you have any life tips about traveling, or do you have any? One of the things I always enjoy talking to you. You have an elevated vocabulary. Those of us that read a lot, now I don't. I'm a 9th grade dropout. Like, I'm not educated like y'all, but I love the fact that you use vocabulary and you don't dumb it down, right? I mean, to you it might not be anything. Like what did you say about the windy route that you got, circuitous? Yeah, like I love that word. Like, that's a word that I don't know. I'm just rambling here, but I enjoy that. So, life tips, Deborah. What have you got to share with our viewers and listeners that you think is something important that they need to know?
Well, I have a lot of survival suggestions.
That's a good thing. We want to survive.
First of all, bring an adapter for the electricity, because it's not going to be what you expect. And
so you can look it up on the internet now. What sort of plug do you need when you go to Africa? What sort of plug do you need when you go to Europe? What sort of plug do you need when you go to South America? Yeah, exactly.
Well, we can get a plug that has all of those things.
Right. It's like a Swiss Army knife of plugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really need that, because it's real exciting when you plug something in and it explodes.
Well, if you can even plug it in. Alice took her hairdryer to Australia the first time. She was telling me, before we had even met. Alice is my wife, for those of you that don't know. And so she went to Australia and she took a hairdryer and she couldn't even get it to plug in, of course, So that can be interesting. Okay, that's a good tip. Anything else?
Okay. You can use shampoo to wash your clothing. This is an important thing to know, especially underwear.
Good tip.
Good tip. You need things cleaned.
Yep. Take your little container. If you're not packing it in your luggage, you got to do like the 3 ounces, but most of us would pack it in the luggage.
Well, most of the places have them.
Oh, well, true. Yep.
Most of the places that I went, not Croatia, but in Africa, and I'm thinking, I can't remember whether it was in Jordan or Dubai, but they will provide you with water because you can't use their tap water.
Right.
And it's really important to remember to use that when you're brushing your teeth.
Right. Yeah. France was the same way for us. They said, oh, just drink wine. Don't drink the water. We were in Paris. Outside of Paris, it's not so bad, but in Paris was, yeah, don't drink the water. Like, open a bottle of wine. I'm like, I just turned 18. And so I'm like, I don't even like wine, but if that's a sacrifice I've got to make, okay. Have you ever got to go to Paris? Have you ever traveled to Paris?
I actually did a Rhodes Scholar trip
Okay.
for a month, both North and South France.
Okay.
And it was spectacular.
I loved it. I loved the food. I mean, the food just all tasted great. Like, just even if it was a baguette, I'd just get a baguette and a chunk of cheese. You like all the rest. I wouldn't wear the beret, but I would chew on the cheese and rip off a piece of bread. This is 1985, so I just turned 18. Climbed the Eiffel Tower for my 18th birthday. That was pretty cool. So, I've got a good dad joke. People were telling me, they say, well, I don't really know a lot about geography. In fact, I got told one time that Australia was in Africa. Like, wasn't Australia in Africa? I'm used to getting told that Australia's in Europe, because they're thinking Austria instead of Australia. In fact, somebody tried to tell me that Albert Einstein was Australian. Like, they come up to me at a dinner party and said, I didn't know Albert Einstein was Australian. I said, he's not. He said, yes, he is. I've got World Book Encyclopedia or whatever it was. And so they pull it out and they're making a loud noise at this dinner party, and it was their house. And I'm like trying to tell them, no, he's Austrian. No, he's Australian. He's Australian. See right here, it says Australian. Of course, it's Austrian. But so I'm used to getting, Australia's in Europe. No, it's not. Austria's in Europe. Australia's another country. It's like all by itself. And so this guy told me it was in Africa. And I'm thinking, you know what? Geology rocks, but geography's where it's at. And you need to know where it's at, right? I mean, that's the key. That's not even a grown-tastic dad joke. That's just, to me, it's one of those dad jokes that's really true, is we have to understand geography. The kids and I, we'd be on road trips and we'd always do a geography game. But it's so disappointing to me how many people don't understand just the basics about geography. They couldn't pick out the 7 continents. They couldn't tell you. I mean, now I get a little confused between the Asia and Europe line, and where's the Middle East really fit? Is that an Asian continent or an African continent? It just depends. An African country. It just depends, right? But I could pick out the continents and stuff, And they added another ocean, like the Great Southern Ocean, in the last few years. Like, I didn't get taught about that at school, but I'm a 9th grade dropout. But I love talking about geography, and I love vocabulary, and I love traveling. And I think that's sometimes a lot of things that Americans don't get to do or don't get to work on in general. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe it's just the people I talk to.
Well, what really impressed me in Croatia, and this is true for the other countries, although the Croats were able to travel more than a lot of the Africans could.
Right.
But they speak more than one language.
Right.
They are very aware of what's going on in the world. CNN, or begins with a J. Not Jehuza.
Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera.
Yeah.
Both of them give so much information,
right,
which we don't get at all.
Yeah, my grandpa, when he came over here, he's sitting and he's watching like ABC or something, World News. He's like, why the hell do you guys call it World News? All it talks about is America, maybe Canada, maybe Mexico. He says the only time you get world news is when America's dropping a bomb on Tripoli or fighting in Mogadishu, Somalia, and I'm like, truer words have never been spoken. I mean, we look at baseball. I harass my baseball friends. I'm a cricket guy, being Australian, and I'm like, baseball World Series, like World Series, really? Come on, give me a break. But but that is so true, that the American media focuses on America, whereas I like watching BBC. BBC does a lot of world news, I also like watching, there's a European equivalent to CNN, Euronews. Euronews is on Sling. And it's just interesting because you watch Euronews, you watch CNN, and you watch BBC, and you get three very different perspectives. And I think that's good for people to understand that, you know, okay, when we look at a pyramid from this side, it looks like a triangle. If we look at it from the bottom, it's a square. And, you know, I don't know what other shapes they are, but you get my point. It's like sometimes we have to look at things at different perspectives, just like we teach our kids to, you know, step into the other person's shoes and look at it from their perspective. You know, I think there's not enough of us that are conciliatory, or, you know, you and I don't agree a lot on political stuff, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends. That doesn't mean we can't build relationship. We can agree to disagree. And sometimes we can even poke fun at each other. And I'm not going to get all upset about it. Like, that's funny. Like, you know, sometimes. And I think we've lost that ability to have differences in this country and in Australia too. I'm finding it the same way in Australia. Like, I'm really frustrated what New South Wales is doing. They've basically got a police state. They're when you land in your hotel, because they don't trust you to actually stay in your hotel for quarantine, they put guards in place. You know, this is Australia, one of the freest countries on the planet, except now, because of COVID, yeah, I understand it's a terrible virus. I get it. There's problems. But when we have a 97%, 98%, 95%, whatever percent you want of survival, dude, let's be reasonable. And so, like, Australia's locked down and quarantined, $3,000 for every hotel room for 2 weeks. It seems like it's just crazy what they're doing. You know, and my friends in Australia, when we talk about it, we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. Oh, it's keeping everybody safe. Okay, well, let's wrap you all up in cotton wool, stick you in the closet with some bubble wrap, and come out in 20 years. You know what? Balloons are one of my pet peeves that I talk about to young parents. It's the number one choking hazard in America today is balloons. Yet banks we'd pull up to the drive-thru or whatever, and they'd have balloons for the kids. I'm like, these are the number one choking hazard, and I wouldn't have my kids have uninflated balloons. Mm-hmm. Sort of like hot dogs. I always cut the hot dogs down. Now, I'm not scared of everything, but taking precautions makes good sense. Wearing a mask makes good sense. We know it's cut down on the flu epidemic in this country this year simply from wearing the mask. You know, so it makes good sense, but we have to balance, right? And just like with being on political sides, this ain't very funny, Edward. That's what my viewers are saying right now. You know, this is like you're on your soapbox. So anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. I think we have to understand, and we have to compromise, and we have to be able to have a conversation without being all offended. You know, I try and tell my kids, you want to be right or you want to be rich? And one of my kids a couple of years ago said, why did you always say that to us? Like, we didn't get it. Like, it's about the money, right? And he's 22 at the time he was. I said, no, it's got nothing to do with money. I'm talking rich in relationships. My daughter, she has a bad habit or a good habit, she thinks, but it's a bad habit. Like, I'll be telling a story. So, Deborah, on Wednesday, I was wearing my red sweater as I went down the street, and a bird pooped on my shoulder. And she'd say, Dad, you knew it was Tuesday morning and you were wearing your blue sweater. Okay, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? That, even if you were right and I was wrong, it didn't matter. And so trying to tell them that, like, hey, you don't have to correct everybody. You don't have to be offended at everything. When you get offended at somebody, they take the power from you, right? So you don't have to be offended. If it's offensive for that person, yes, I understand. Let that person stand up, and if they can't, then protect them. However, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? We stand on our principles, and there's battles I'll stand for and I'll fight for. But there's other times, who cares whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday? Who cares whether it was a blue sweater or a red sweater? Doesn't matter. So we have to learn to pick our battles. I don't know what got me off on that tangent, but I thought it had to be said.
And it was, my God.
And it was, by golly. Yeah, that's right. I kind of like the way this shirt's working, the blue Australian flag and the red and white. And it's
Yes,
kind of cool.
Beautifully coordinated.
Thank you. Somebody said, how many of these shirts do you have? I said, I've got 2. I actually bought it in a 3X, which is a bit too big. And so then I've got a 2X. I said, and they said, well, you're always wearing it. I said, it's like become my favorite shirt. I've got a Hawaiian Christmas shirt and these shirts. And they're like, well, like, do you ever wash it? I'm like, dude, yes, I wash it on Sundays. Sundays and Wednesdays are my wash days. Well, you're always wearing it. I said, well, that's because we always either talk on a Monday or Tuesday. And so I get it out of the closet and I put it on just for you because I thought you would enjoy it. Like, whatever. So, but I've been searching on Facebook. You ever say something like in your phone starts showing you ads for those things? I think there's all sorts of memes and that sort of stuff, right? Oh, and so I told my wife, I said, I want some more nice Hawaiian shirts. I can't afford to pay the price they want for these Hawaiian shirts. These were high end. But I said, and so it started showing me Hawaiian shirt ads. There was one with some old Western book covers that are kind of cool, like a guy riding a horse and I don't know if you saw that on my Facebook the other day, but I posted that. Like, Facebook algorithm has my number when it comes to Hawaiian shirts. I'm getting all these ads. My phone's over here. It'll probably be going crazy with Hawaiian shirt ads shortly. So what's the next thing for you? What are you working on right now?
I'm working on 2 things. I have work, which is wonderful.
Yay.
So I have a 2-day train the trainer coming up.
Online or in person?
In person.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Which is going to be in person. And I bring kush balls. You know what those are?
Kush balls. They're like they're
yes,
soft, but they've got like all sort of like the spines. Is that a kush ball or is it just a soft ball?
No, you're describing
it.
Yeah.
They always feel funky in my hands. They like feel good, but terrifying at the same time. I don't know. It's like, oh, I got to, it's like watching an accident. It's like, you can't stop, but it's like, I got to stop.
So anyway, I have wands and I have squeeze stars. So I was washing all of them so that we'd be safe. And I have 2 virtual classes I'm doing on using on peer-to-peer problem solving.
Right.
And that'll be virtual.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad. I know we were talking about how COVID is messed up being able for you to do what you do. And I find it very interesting. Hey, thanks for being my first guest on the show. We didn't do a lot of dad jokes, but I think it was an interesting conversation.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, whether you need some of it or not, I don't know. But do you? Okay, we'll end with this. Do you know any Australian words, like Australian slang or anything like that?
Well, from Waltzing Matilda.
Okay, that's a good song. Yeah.
And a Joey.
Right. Do you know what the song Waltzing Matilda? Do you know what it means?
I used to. I don't remember.
Okay. So Waltzing Matilda is a pretty famous song in Australia, written by a famous Australian poet called Banjo Patterson. And Waltzing Matilda is like a swagman or a hobo. You probably call them a hobo over here. But a swagman, they would travel from ranch to ranch looking for work, right? But not like cowboys. I mean, they didn't have horses. They normally had their pack on the back and they had their billy can, which is their tea kettle. And so their swag was called Matilda. And so Waltzing Matilda was you would be walking along with your blanket and your, sort of like your backpack.
And what's a billy bong?
A billabong is a body of water. It's an Aboriginal name for a body of water. So a billabong. So you can't buy a billabong, right? And you don't steal the farmer's sheep. You don't steal the rancher's sheep, because that's what Waltzing Matilda in the song, he stole the sheep because he was starving. And the troopers came up, the policemen at the time. This is, I'd say, late 17, mid 1800s, somewhere in there. And so the troopers come up, 1, 2, 3, and they said, "Where's that jolly jumbuck, the sheep? You've got in your tucker bag. You'll come a Waltzing Matilda with me." And so they're turning the Waltzing Matilda from him just traipsing along to like, "We're taking you to jail, dude." And he says, "Nah, you're not taking me." And he springs up and jumps in the middle of the of the lake, of the pond, of the body of water, and drowns. And so, yeah, really uplifting and friendly.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's a great song. And then, okay, so here's one for you. If let me think. What's a good Aussie word? Arvo, A-R-V-O. Try and use it in a sentence. So we're trying to get some humor here. If you know what it is, you can tell me. But if you don't know what it is, you can just use it in a sentence.
I have no idea.
Okay. Arvo, Australians love to shorten words because we're lazy. You know, I'm so lazy when I go to the gym, you know what I do? Diddly squats. That's what I do at the gym, diddly squats. Yeah. So Arvo is afternoon. Hey, Deb, what are you doing Sunday Arvo? Sunday, not Sunday. Sunday Arvo. Hey, Sunday Arvo, let's go down the pub and grab a beer. You know, Monday Arvo, I got to go back to work. Like, I can't wait to get off in the Arvo. Yeah, so that's Arvo. Afternoon. How about a dag? D-A-G, a dag. So you got to meet your friends for drinks or whatever, or you're going out somewhere and somebody shows up and they're really shabbily dressed, right? Like maybe it was a jeans and a polo shirt and they've shown up in like cut off jeans and a singlet. I don't want to call them a wife beater. I hate that term, but what do they call? What do you call them?
A sweatshirt.
Well, but it's the sleeveless sweatshirt. Is that I call it a singlet.
It's a t-shirt.
Okay, it's a sleeveless tee. Okay, so if they show up in a sleeveless tee, cut off jeans and flip-flops, in Australia, that'd be like standard dress, right? Like, but if they were meant to dress up a bit, we'd say, oh, you're such a dag. Now, the literal meaning, it's that, this is disgusting, but it's the wool that gets encrusted with the poop on around the sheep's butt, and the parts that hang off that is a dag. So, oh, you're a daggy SOB. But they don't mean it literally, but it's a good terminology. So, oh, you look so daggy. Why don't you go change your clothes before we go out to Pizza Hut? You know, that's a high-end establishment. I used to hear that all the time. I had a friend that he was dating this girl, and she's awesome. In fact, I've kept up with the girl, but I haven't kept up with the friend. But I remember one time we're going out to dinner, and we're just going to go to Pizza Hut. He loved Pizza Hut. And he had put on a fluorescent pink sleeveless shirt and board shorts, or like swimming board shorts. I don't know what you call them. They were Billabongs, actually. The brand Billabong is a board short brand and a surfboard brand. Anyway, so she's like, oh, you're such a dag. Go put some real clothes on. Like, this is a date. I'm like, well, what am I doing here if it's a date? Like, let me stay home. No, you got to get out of the house. You're coming too. I'm like, I don't want to, but I did. But anyway, so that's a dag. So there you go. Now you've got some Australian words in your vocabulary.
I can't wait to use them.
I'll
do it, Arvo.
Arvo, yeah, Arvo. What are you going to do tomorrow, Arvo?
Tomorrow, Arvo. Yeah,
tomorrow, Arvo. I'm sitting by the pool and I'm drinking Sue Bonzel, who's a friend of ours, from Sue's mastermind. She'd probably be in the hot tub with a glass of wine. She's in that part of the country, I think. Now, when you traveled, did you have anybody back home that was scared? I mean, I guess I'm asking, did you have a significant other that was like, oh my God, you're going to get killed while you're overseas or something like that?
My mother
was
very frightened for me, and she wanted to. Most of the places I was going were involved with U.S. aid.
Right. So they're all developing.
Doesn't U.S. aid have anything in Paris or London or where people normally go? But I loved the people that I met.
Right.
Seeing the customs, having the food when I could eat it, if it wasn't too spicy.
Right.
The dress, taking pictures of just everything.
Right. And the mindset. I always find that I enjoy the scenery, I enjoy the animals and stuff. It's really getting to know the people and understand that, hey, we think differently. Now there's some things that will never change, right? People are people. We're all human. but the way we've been raised in the environment we've been raised in, what's important to us and the way we look at things, different cultures looking at it. You know, you look at Australians, they're very laid back. You look at Americans, they're very gung-ho, very patriotic. You talk to Italians and sometimes the Hispanic, you know, they're very like, oh, let's take a siesta. Let's just have a 3-hour lunch. You know, let's have a couple of glasses of wine during lunch. You know, and Americans are like, oh no, I got to get back to work. I got to like work. You know, and it's just different the way different nationalities look at things.
Yeah, what was I was going to tell you something.
Oh, and I got to talking too long and you lost it. We can edit this part out though.
Yeah.
It's a great way to fill in the gaps. Like you just like chop.
Chop.
And then they'll never know it was missing. Was it about traveling? Was it about your mom being worried about you? Or was it something else?
Traveling, US aid.
The way different people,
Culture.
different cultures talk differently and think differently.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so hang on. So yeah.
When I went to Jordan, first of all, I changed planes, I think in France.
Okay.
And normally when you change planes, your luggage comes with you.
Right. Mostly, yes.
Mine did not, because it was a totally different airline. So I arrived in Jordan, where I was going to do 2 6-day trainings for 50 people at a time without a thing.
Nothing.
And
whatever you had on your carry-on, that was it.
Out shopping. They were so loving and caring. And when I went into the office, a few people came up to me and said, what did you anticipate when you were going to meet us? Did you have anything in mind? And I hadn't, but the person who was talking to me was a redhead. And the other person, I didn't see blondes, but they're redheads and gorgeous people. And because they said, because most people expect Bedouins, you know, somebody who is living with the camel out on the desert with very swarthy skin. And I thought, boy, I don't go anywhere with preconceived notions that I'm aware of. Right. But I know I was surprised when I had a redheaded.
Right. Yeah. When you said that, I'm like, Jordan. And then I thought maybe they were just USAID workers helping you set up, but they were Jordanian.
They were Jordanian.
Yeah. Right. My wife, we met a lady from Jordan who was a pharmacist in the US. And she said, you know, there's one thing I like about the US, that I'm not worried about walking outside and getting blown up. Okay. So in Jordan, she was a pharmacist and she had her own pharmacy. She said, what I do miss is for the money I made in Jordan running my pharmacy, I could have a gardener, I could have a driver, I could have a maid. She said, I never had to pick up a thing. She said, now over here, I'm a full-time pharmacist working 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week. And then I go home and I have to do the laundry and I have to cook dinner and I have to do that. She goes, and sometimes I sit there and I cry and I don't know which is better. I don't know which is better. And
I was talking with a young woman who was considering moving from Jordan to the States. And that was exactly the stuff she was talking about.
Right.
And and the people who work for them work for literally for peanuts.
Right. Like I'm trying to teach people about virtual assistants. I've got a lady interested, and you and I have talked about this before, but she's hiring somebody for $15 an hour, and now they're not even showing up for work. And they're on their phone most of the time, not doing what she wants them to do. I said, look, even if a virtual assistant is doing that, I can get you that for $4 an hour. Like, I can get you somebody that I've had one for over a year, and I've got ones for other people for about $4 an hour. That's $6.40 a month, and they will work 160 hours. And these guys are making more money working with me than they would be working a college graduate job. It's just crazy because of the different advantages that we have in the US, Australia, the UK, any of the developed world. And these people are going to school in Karachi, Pakistan. So the average graduate in Karachi, Pakistan makes 29,000 Pakistani rupees, which is about 170 US a month. Now, you get places like Bangladesh or some of the African countries, they're lucky to make $2 a month. You know, they don't have any source of income. You know, they're dealing with goats or doing farming. They're not really making any hard currency. It's all barter over there. So yeah, trying to teach Americans, even the poorest American makes way more money than the poorest people in a lot of other countries. And I don't think we have any clue of that. We don't, I mean, some of us do, but I don't think the majority of Americans, the majority of Australians even understand that.
It's a very different life.
Yeah, that's why it's great for me when you see these people, like when you can help somebody in another country and you can send them $20. I mean, that's sending them like 1,000. You know, $20 can make a huge difference in somebody's life. We're not even going to miss it. Right? Now, I also appreciate the guys that say, hey, we've got plenty of problems in our own country. Let's fix those. Yeah, that's important too. Whatever your passion is for helping people, then help people. I don't care. We're all human. If you have a passion for helping people in America, help people in America. That's what I love about humanity, is that, you know, we have people helping veterans. We have people helping dogs and cats. We have people helping, you know, people in India and people in Africa. And that's why God's given us all these different passions. Take your passion and run with it. Soapbox, I need an icon. Soapbox moment. Anyway, hey, it's been great fun as always. We could probably talk for 3 hours. We've lost most of the viewers by now. I have to edit this down to something that they'll listen to, but that'll be fun. I'll just stop the recording here. Okay. Hey, Deb, it's been great having you on the show. Thanks for being the first guest. I'll give you one more dad joke to send you on your way.
All right.
Okay, so have I told you the one about the Norwegian Navy?
Nope.
Okay, so the Norwegian Navy, I was reading this in an article the other day. They're putting barcodes on the sides of their warships. Do you know why?
No, tell me why.
So when they come back to port, they can Scandinavian.
We need the groan.
Yeah, we need the groan for that one. Okay, I'll see if I can add it. Hey, thanks a lot, Deb. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.